Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar. We shall wait for a couple of minutes for the other participants to join in. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining the webinar. My name is Mona Lisa Bhagat, and I'm a manager with RiskPro India. I would like to give you a brief overview of RiskPro India Ventures Private Limited. RiskPro India is a risk management and consulting firm, and we are in this business for more than 10 years. We have served more than 525 clients, which include international clients from USA, UAE, UK, etc. Our main head office is in Mumbai, and we have our presence in 7 other cities. We have our main 5 business verticals: risk advisory, IT advisory, training, technology, and recruitment. In risk advisory, we help our clients with internal audits, internal financial controls, branch audits, SOPs, legal compliance audit, and many more such services. In IT advisory, we help with GDPR compliance, SSAE 18, 21 CFR, HIPAA, PDP reviews, and many such more services. In training, we provide online and in-person training on enterprise risk management, risk assessment and mitigation, anti-bribery and corruption, anti-money laundering, etc. With respect to technology, we have our in-house software, which is third-party risk management software. And through our technology partners, we help our clients with other softwares like internal audit software, risk management software, and legal compliance software, among many others. In recruitment, we provide full-time and part-time risk and audit professionals and virtual risk managers. Today's webinar is for 60 minutes, out of which 10 minutes will be for question and answer session. All the participants during this webinar will be on mute mode, that is listen only mode. If any participant would like to ask any questions, would request them to write it in the questions tab. If any participant is facing any issue like unable to hear the speaker or not able to view the presentation, would request them to write it in the questions tab. The speaker for today's webinar is Ms. Swati Phadke, VP IT Advisory with RiskPro India. She is a science graduate from Mumbai University and a DSCI certified privacy professional. She has around 18 years of experience in domains of data protection implementation and audits, data protection impact assessment, operations and process reviews, data protection training and awareness. She has worked with organizations like Arca Consulting, Ogum Solutions, Sterlite Foundation, and Datamatics. I would now like to hand it over to Ms. Swati.
Good morning, everyone. Today we will be going through ISO 27701 Privacy Information Management System Standard. We will look at what is data privacy at first. We will also look at what is personal data. We will then get an overview of ISO 27701 PIMS standard. We will look at requirements of ISO 27701 and we will look at some real life implementation case studies of the standard. So let's start with what is privacy. Privacy is right to be let alone or freedom from intrusion or interference. There are four types of privacy. The first one is communication privacy. The another one is bodily privacy, territorial privacy, and information or data privacy. So when we look at information or data privacy, it means right to have some control over how the personal data is collected and used by an organization. Okay, so data privacy, any organization basically collects a lot of data. The data is company information, company financial information. The data is also related to intellectual property of an organization. However, data privacy does not deal with that data. Data privacy deals with personal data. So next slide, let's look at what is personal data. So personal data is any information that relates to an individual. It can identify an individual or can be used to identify an individual. Specific examples are your name, your address, your email ID, your phone number, or your any official identifier. They can range from your PAN number, passport ID, your Aadhaar ID, are basically personal data. Now, personal data as a term, GDPR has made it, commonplace. Uh, However, many regulations also use personal information or personally identifiable information as an alternative term for personal data. Interestingly, ISO 27701 uses PII, personally identifiable information, as the term. So what is ISO 27701? It is an international standard for privacy management or privacy information management system. ISO 27701 was formerly referred to as ISO 27552 during its development phase. ISO 27701 defines processes and provides guidance for protecting personal data on ongoing basis. It also defines PIMS specific requirements and provides guidance to controllers and processors. Now, controllers and processors are organizations, and these are the roles defined for the organization. We will talk about it in the later slides. ISO 27701 is an extension to ISO 27001. So it builds on the controls given in ISO 27001 and provides additional controls and additional guidances with respect to protection of personal data or data privacy. Uh, Having said that, it is important for an organization to be compliant with or certified in ISO 27001 to go for ISO 27701 certification of privacy information management system. Along with controls for ISO 27001, additional controls for privacy, it also gives additional guidance with respect to ISO 27002, which is the guidance document for ISMS, that is ISO 27001. Okay, what are the benefits of ISO 27701? More importantly, it helps you in complying with various privacy regulations that are there, not only GDPR, but then with upcoming India Personal Data Protection Bill. As it is a framework, it will be easier for an organization to comply with many privacy regulations. It reduces liability. As we all know, every regulation has their fines and penalties defined, and an organization, when it is compliant with the regulation, it reduces the liability, improves the reputation of an organization. Many stakeholders look at the organization as compliant with privacy, and that's why there is a higher level of trust in the organization's work. Also, it can be used as a tool by the organization to assess their service provider or vendor's privacy compliance level. It can be used as a vendor due diligence assessment tool to see that the vendors are ISO 27701 compliant or not, or they are certified or not. Let's look at ISO 27001 life cycle. Normally, ISO standards go through 9 stages, starting from preliminary stage where they're introduced to committee stage where they're reviewed, and then approval stage till review and withdrawal stage. ISO 27701 is currently in publication stage. It was published in August 2019. The standard is available on the ISO website for purchase. Let's go through main structure of ISO. As all the international standards they are defined in clauses. Similarly, 27701 also defined in clauses. It also has annexures. There are 5 annexures. So ISO 27701 have 8 clauses and Annex A to F. Clause 1 talks about scope of the standard. Clause 2 gives references to other standards. Clause 3 talks about key definitions that are used in the standard documentation. Now, as I mentioned earlier, ISO 27701 extends on ISO 27K, right? So clause 4 gives comparison between ISO 27001 and 27701. What are or where are the additional guidances provided or additional controls provided? Clause 5 gives those additional controls. Clause 6 gives the additional guidances with respect to 27002. Clause 7 and Annex A provides controls and control objectives for controller organizations. Clause 8, Annex B, gives controls and control objectives for process organization. Starting from Annex C to Annex F, mappings are provided to similar standards. Mapping is provided from ISO 27701 to GDPR. Mapping is also provided from ISO 27701 to 29100, which is privacy framework. So who should use ISO 27701? It can be used by any organization, a public and private entity, government entity, not-for-profit organization. Any organization of any size working in any domain can use this standard. Specifically, an organization who is processing personal data and works as a controller or processor, they should use ISO 27701. So normative references are provided in the standard. Normative references list any other standard that contain additional information about the standard. So ISO 27701 provides reference to obviously ISO 27001, which is ISMS. It also provides reference to ISO 27002, which is Code of Practice or Guidance Document for Information Security Controls. It also provides reference to ISO 27000, which has vocabulary and overview about the ISMS definitions. And it provides references to ISO 29100 privacy framework, which has information or key terms and definitions related to data privacy and data protection. Let's look at the key definitions that are used in the standard. As I mentioned earlier, standard uses term personally identifiable information, which is commonly known as personal data as well. Definition is same, any information that can be used to identify a person or that can be directly or indirectly linked to a person is personally identifiable information. Examples are same, your name, address, phone number, your official identifiers will be your personal data or personally identifiable information. Now, individuals whose personal data and organization process, people like you and me, whose data is there with organizations, are commonly known as data subject. Again, a term made famous by GDPR. The term that is used by ISO 27701 is PII principle, okay, which is similar to data principle as a term used by India PDPB, India Personal Data Protection Bill, which uses term as data principle. ISO 27701 uses term as PII principle. Any individual whose data is there with the organization. The term that is used for the organization are PII controller and PII processor. Now, PII controller or controller is any organization that determines the purpose or means of processing. So they decide what services and what products they need to provide for their profits and their benefits. So these organizations are termed as controllers. Now, controllers also take help of some other organizations, service providers, vendors, or subcontractors. These service providers or vendors are termed as PII processor or processor organization. Now, processor organization always work on behalf of the controller organization or always work on instructions of controller organization. So take an example, BPOs, KPOs, any courier service that is used by an organization, they become the service providers or subcontractors. They will become the processors, and any organization who uses the services of these organizations or these service providers or vendors become the controller of data processing. Okay. Uh, Clause 5 addresses every clause in ISO 27001 and identifies where an additional requirement is necessary with respect to data privacy or processing of personal data. So majority of ISO 27001 clauses remain unchanged with caveat that whenever the controls are implemented or identified, the organization needs to take into consideration personal data or protection of the personal data. It also established a top level amendment that it is not only information security, but information security should be extended or should be added considering protection of data privacy. In practice, it mentions that any mention of information security should be changed to information security and privacy. So whenever you are now reading ISO 27001 and whenever there is a term as information security, now it has to be read as information security and privacy. There are two clauses where changes or additional requirements of controls are mentioned. Clause 4, which is understanding or context of the organization, and clause 6, which talks about planning. There are additional controls are mentioned in ISO 27701. So when we talk about two clauses where additional requirements are there, clause 4, which talks about understanding the organization, and its context, basically what the organization does. It specifies that organization has to determine its role. What are they? They are working as a controller, they are working as a processor, and if they are working as a controller, are they also working as a in a capacity of joint controller? Like there are two or more organizations working and taking decisions about certain things. So they are not in a controller processor relationship, but they are partners and working as a joint controller. So an organization has to determine their role. Now let me give an example. A service provider or HRMS service provider, HR service provider company will be data processor for their client organization work. So they are processors, but they will also be controllers for their employee data, because the employee data is collected for their own purposes, correct? So in that case, an organization will have two roles. One role is controller with respect to the data of their employees, and they will be processor with respect to the data that they hold of their client organization. Okay, so importantly, any organization has to determine what are they. They also need to determine external and internal factors that may affect the PIMS, that may affect or that may fail the PIMS. These external and internal factors can also be the privacy regulations or legislation that apply. Similarly, GDPR, India, PDPB, Singapore laws. Okay. It should also be administrative decisions that take place at certain times, contractual requirements or agreements that they have with the client organizations or the service providers, uh, any jurisdictional decisions that also can be external or internal factor. Let's take example of Schrems 2 decision that happened in EU Court of Justice now. So for so many years, standard contractual clauses were used, and after Schrems 2 now, the standard contractual clauses has been revised and new and updated clauses have come up. So now organization has to identify these factors and have to change the clauses as an example. Okay, so any organization has to identify these factors when they are looking at and understanding what are their requirements towards data privacy. Uh, it also puts an additional requirement that any organization has to identify and include any party having interest or responsibility towards processing personal data. Now, these parties can be individuals whose personal data is with you. So, what are their expectation from the organization? Even your customers, regulators, your partners, your service providers, and your client organization can also be the interested parties when you are looking at personal data processing. Most importantly, one of the next requirement about or additional requirement in clause 4 is include the processing of personal data when determining the scope of PIMS. So determination of scope of the PIMS requires revising the scope of ISMS by default. So you have already mentioned the scope of ISMS, and now this requirement says you need to include the processing of PIMS. So your ISMS scope will be amended to include this requirement as well. The fourth and important aspect also, ISMS, is we need to also establish, implement, and continually improve PIMS. So this requirement is there for ISMS in 27001. So additional requirement is also provided. So along with ISMS, an organization has to have a PIMS and has to have the continual improvement of privacy information management system in the organization. Okay. Most importantly, it says in accordance with the requirements of clauses 4 to 10 that are mentioned in ISO 27001, extended clauses of clause 5 need to be added to the clauses 4 to 10 in ISO 27000. Next is clause 6 of ISMS is also has some additional requirements. It says when risk assessment is done, organization needs to identify risk related to processing of personal data as well along with it. It has to assess the potential consequences for both organization and individuals of the privacy risk if it materializes. So first, we need to identify the privacy risk. Second, we need to identify the potential consequences of the privacy risk and document it and identify the mitigation measures for it. Is 6.1.2 says. It also says when assessing the applicability of control from ISO 27001 for risk treatment, controls related to privacy risks are also be considered. So when you are identifying a privacy risk and you have to use ISO 27001 controls, you have to look at ISO 27000 controls with respect to privacy. So if you have identified that my personal data has a privacy risk of unauthorized access, now you have to look at ISO 27001 controls and see that which control is better to mitigate this privacy risk. That control can be access management, that control can be encryption, that control can um, is dependent on your mobile device policy. So you have to look at, and it depends on an organization and how they work. So not all controls will be applicable for all organization, but it depends on your organization as well as kind of privacy risk you are identifying. So when you are treating the risk, infosec controls need to be assessed and identified to mitigate the risk for personal data. Importantly, produce a statement of applicability when you are doing that. Necessary controls, justification for their inclusion and exclusion has to be maintained. The justification for excluding any of the control from Annex A and Annex B, which talks about controllers and processor requirements in ISO 27701, has to be maintained. Now, more importantly, when we talk about ISO 27701, not all controls will be applicable to all organizations. So if an organization is working as a controller, Annex B, which is processor requirements, will not apply to them. If an organization is working as a processor and wants to certify only for the processor aspect of the organization in scope, then controller requirements will not apply to them. So considering that, the exclusion and reason of exclusion has to be maintained in the scope of applicability, is what this requirement is. Clause 6 provides additional guidance related to ISO 27002, which is a guidance document for uh, ISO 27001. Similarly, as ISO 27001, it established a top level amendment that everything information security now needs to be termed as information security and privacy. Now, as you look, most of the clauses have additional guidances provided here, except one, which is InfoSec aspect of business continuity management. Apart from that one clause, every other clause has additional guidances provided. So it requires you to have privacy policy in place. It can be done by developing a separate privacy policy, or you can augment your InfoSec policy to include the privacy clauses or your privacy commitment. But it needs to be documented, and it has to be in compliance with applicable privacy regulations. So if you are catering to European residents, then GDPR will apply. Then your privacy policy has to be in line with GDPR requirements. If you are catering to California residents and CCPA applies to you, then your privacy policy has to be in compliance with the CCPA requirements. Uh, it also says you need to designate a point of contact for customers or for individuals with respect to processing of personal data. So somebody has to be there from your organization who can respond to people's grievances or who can respond to people's queries related to data privacy. That is one of the requirement here. You also need to appoint one or more persons who will be able to implement and manage a governance and privacy program in the organization. So they need to identify the requirements or responsibilities of data protection regulations that are applicable to your organization and need to have a privacy program set up in the organization and implement the requirements. Sorry. Also, the organization needs to ensure that there is mobile devices does not lead to compromise of personal data. So all the controls with respect to ISO 27001 should be in place for any mobile devices containing personal data. Those can be anything. This can be starting from encryption to not providing, not allowing personal data to be stored on the mobile devices. Any mitigation measures that the organization needs to take, they have to take to ensure that the data is not getting compromised here. Next one is organization has to ensure that employees are aware about possible consequences of breaching, privacy. The consequences to organization, the consequences can be legal consequences, loss of business, brand or reputational damage for organization. Uh, Again, the consequences can be towards an employee, and it will be disciplinary action towards them for non-compliance, and also to individuals whose data it is there with the organization, any kind of physical, material, or emotional, damage to the person uh, are the consequences, and we need to ensure the organization needs to ensure that the employees who are handling personal data are aware about the consequences that may happen due to not handling the data in correct manner. Most importantly, when uh, you are developing your data classification policies or information classification policies, the organization needs to consider personal data as well and treat it accordingly, confidential, strictly confidential, right? Also ensure that employees are made aware of the definition of personal data. So they need to know what is personal data, and they should be able to identify personal data from all the information that is there in the company. So as I mentioned earlier, the company can have a lot of information with them. Now, your employees need to understand which is not personal data and which is personal data. Okay, so that is important. So that training has to be provided to the employees to aware about the definition of personal data and to be able to recognize or identify the personal data from all the data that you have. Importantly, you also organization also need to use secure disposal method for removable media, which has personal data on it. Organization has to ensure that they are not reissuing to users any deactivated or expired user IDs. So you are not reusing inactive user IDs again and again. Importantly, when any uh, product or service has personal data on it. Also, maintain an accurate and up-to-date record of users who have access to personal data. So when you're looking at access management and you're providing role-based access to data, you have to ensure that you have a list of people who have access to what kind of data, who have access to confidential information, who have access to sensitive information, who have access to contact information. So most importantly, you need to maintain a record of it. You also need to provide information to your client organization regarding the circumstances in which you will use cryptography to protect the personal data. So you can mention when you will be using encryption in data transition or transit of the data, or basically data at rest. How and what points you will be using encryption or any other cryptography. You need to also ensure whenever storage space is reassigned, any personal data previously residing on that storage space is not accessible, deleted, or disposed properly. So people who are reusing the storage space cannot access it, cannot retrieve or re-identify the data resided on that storage space. Importantly, when you do not know if the storage media contains personal data or not, you need to treat that storage media as it is containing personal data, and then uh, treat it for secure disposal or reuse of the storage media. Also, it is important when you have to take a printout or print copy of personal data, have to do it for minimum needed. So only if needed urgently, importantly, then only take the uh, printout of the personal data. Otherwise, do not take it. Otherwise, use the soft copies available with you. Also importantly, have a policy to address the requirements of backup and recovery of personal data. So an organization has backup recovery policies already present, but then backup recovery has to be there, and it can be part of your main backup policy, which is created during your ISMS. Okay. Wherever possible, record access to personal data in event log. So who has access, when they exist, and what kind of data they access, and what kind of changes they have made to data, they have added, modified, or deleted the data. So create a log of it when somebody accesses the data. Importantly, when you are creating log of the access to data, ensure that these event logs are also provided to people on access basis. So only need to know access is given to the event logs, and the event log has to be discarded, disposed of as per your retention policy and schedule. So they should not be available with you forever. You need to have a proper retention schedule also for the event logs that you mentioned and has personal data in it. And you have to also have procedures to dispose them off, archive them off as per your retention policies and schedules. More importantly, ensure that individuals, employees working for you, uh, have signed confidentiality agreement or NDA. So they know that they are under confidentiality obligation of the organization and should not disclose the data to unauthorized people. Uh, Importantly, do not use personal data or live data for testing purposes or in production environment. Use false or synthetic data, that means use dummy data, but do not use any personal data, live data of your customers, clients, or your employees. Use any false data in your production or testing environment. Uh, Again, when it is service provider, vendor, you are employing, you need to have agreements with suppliers where the personal data is processed, and minimum technical and organizational measures that they need to meet. So that contract MSA that you will have with your service providers need to mention the type of personal data that they will be processing, for what they will be processing the personal data, and also minimum measures or security measures that they have to take to keep or store or work on your personal data. Okay. Also ensure the contract mention that the supplier will only process personal data on the organization or controller's instructions. So that has to be one important clause in the contract stating the suppliers or service providers will process personal data only on the client's instructions. Okay. More importantly, establishing responsibilities and procedures for responding to breaches of personal data. So organizations have incident management policies and procedures in place that should also contain incidents with respect to personal data breaches. And most importantly, regulations have notification obligations uh, towards organization, notification to authority regulators, or notification communication to individuals, affected individuals whose data is probably breached. So importantly, this is also included in your incident management policy and procedures. Okay. Uh, the organization has to identify potential legal sanctions. Now, looking at GDPR has very high, uh, fines and penalties defined. Even India PDPB has very high penalties and also criminal provisions also there. So, have to identify the potential legal sanctions and fines which may be applicable to organization. Uh, Importantly, it also needs organization or a service provider to make available to client organization a security report about their compliance with ISMS. Okay, this has to be done. This is a guidance provided. So proactively provide a infosec report, what measures you have implemented in your organization uh, to your client organization. Now, clause 7 and Annex A of ISO 27701 gives controls and control objectives to control organization. Organization would decide the purpose and means of processing. It says you need to identify and document purpose of processing, purpose, reason, need, why you're processing the data. So I'm processing the data for marketing. I'm processing the data for providing HRMS services. I am processing the data to provide banking services. What kind of banking services? You need to identify and document the purpose. Second, you need to identify a lawful basis or ground of processing personal data. Now, there are lawful basis can be you have contract with the individual, like your telecom company has contract with an individual, your bank has contract to open savings account with their customers, right? So you have a contract with your with an individual, you have taken consent before sending marketing mailers or marketing messages. Companies take consent from individuals, so you have consent taken from individual. Or it is a legal obligation, like KYC information collection in a lot of time is a legal obligation. So what is your basis or ground of collection or processing personal data, right? When you have identified the ground as consent, obtain the consent and record the consent. So even if you take consent verbally, please ensure that you are recording the consent by email or any other method, so you have a documented consent to show to the authorities. Also, when you take consent, you have to also provide mechanisms to withdraw the consent. So in case of marketing, you have taken the consent and sending the email marketing messages, ensure that you provide unsubscribe link or reply option for individuals to unsubscribe from the marketing if they do not want to continue with it. Also provide privacy notice to individuals, so you can provide it using your website or your mobile app. Privacy notice should provide all your practices, what kind of personal data you process, why you are processing the personal data, uh, category of companies with whom you will share the personal data with. So you have to provide certain information in the privacy notice to individuals about your privacy practices and processes. Whenever some activities may end up being high risk to an individual, you need to conduct privacy impact assessment, and you need to identify the risk of the of that processing activity and mitigate that risk. Now, for example, any high risk activity or high risk process can be biometric data collection, which is sensitive data of a person, CCTV monitoring, data collected for CCTV monitoring. You are collecting any health information of a person, because these are very sensitive information of an individual, and if the data gets leaked or stolen or unauthorized access, then it will be very high risk to an individual. So you need to conduct privacy impact assessment. You need to identify risk, where exactly are the risk points, and you have to mitigate those risks. You need to have contract with your service providers or vendors. You need to maintain records. So whatever you are doing is fine, but you need to have documented evidence of it. You have conducted PIA, great, but then you need to have a DPIA report to show it. You are obtaining consent, very good, but then you need to have a consent record or consent document to show it that we have conducted the consent, right? You are saying people can withdraw the consent, then you have to show that there is a mechanism to withdraw consent. They can click on the link, they can call you, they can send a message to you. So you have to show that you are doing it, a document format. It importantly also says the organization needs to limit the collection of personal data. The organization has to maintain the accuracy of personal data that is collected. The accuracy can be maintained when collecting the personal data or processing. To give an example, when you collect emails or phone numbers, you can take authentication. You can send a authentication email to check the email is correct or not. You can send the OTPs to check phone numbers are correct or not. So similarly, you can identify ways to check the accuracy or quality of the personal data that you collect. Okay. Importantly, you need to have methods to de-identify or dispose of the data after the use is over or after the end of processing. So after you decide that there is no more processing required, you can de-identify or delete the data. Okay. You need to provide mechanism to individuals to access, correct, and or erase the personal data. Okay, organization needs to have process to handle individuals' requests, complaints, and queries. So somewhere they have to come to you using email, or they can dial you and send their request or complaints and queries to you. Also, controller needs to have procedures for retention and disposal. So your retention policy or retention schedule also need to talk about personal data and disposal of personal data, and not only talk about, but also need to have procedures or need to implement the process of retention and disposal for personal data. One more thing is, when data is getting transferred from one international jurisdiction to another, there are certain transfer mechanisms that need to be used. Uh, GDPR requires standard contractual clauses in certain cases, or binding corporate rules in other cases, right? So those bases you need to identify what are the transfer mechanisms that are there, and need to implement those appropriately in the organization. You also need to identify countries and organizations to which personal data can be transferred. So you need to know where your data is going. Most importantly, you are in India. So where is your data sitting? Your data, is it in USA? Is it in Europe, Germany, Frankfurt? Is it in Singapore? Is it in South Korea? Where exactly your data is sitting? And then importantly, identify the correct mechanism to be used to implement over here. Also maintain records of transfer. It will be easy for you to understand where the data is flowing from your organization, and maintain any kind of disclosure to third parties which are not your service providers, third parties which are not your uh, client organization, but third parties which are apart from these. Maybe any legal disclosure was required by some LEA. So maintain those record of transfer where you have given information, or any regulator have also asked some data from you, so maintain records of those disclosures and document it. Clause 8 talks about, or Annex P talks about processor requirement. It simply says ensure that the contract to process personal data address the organ and role. So it says it will only assist the client organization in processing personal data. It also says that personal data is processed on behalf of the client organization instructions. Okay. Also inform the client organization if processing instructions that they have given to you are infringing any kind of legislation or regulation. So they have told you to do certain things, but you know that it is going to infringe or violate some regulations. So inform them proactively that XYZ requirement or instruction of yours is going to violate CCPA or GDPR or India requirements. Provide the client organization with appropriate information as and when they require it. Provide the customer with means to comply with its obligation related to rights. So somebody goes to client and asks for their data, and the data is with you, and then you need to help your client to fulfill their obligation with respect to privacy regulations. So have processes around that. Okay. Importantly, when the end of processing or end of contract, resend or return, transfer, or dispose the personal data in a secure manner as defined with your client organization. Mm. Again, inform your client organization of basis of transfer. That can be standard contractual clauses or any other contractual requirements or any other requirements dependent on the jurisdiction that you are in. Okay. Again, document the countries where the personal data can possibly be transferred. Record disclosures of personal data to third parties. No change here from controller requirement. Okay. Importantly, when any LEA or any other third party comes to you for any disclosure, legally binding request, you need to inform if it is affecting the client organization, then inform or notify the client organization about the request. Okay. Uh, Importantly, disclose if you are using subcontractors or sub-processors. So controller has given you the work and you are subcontracting the work to some of the work. to any third party or service provider, disclose that use to your controller or disclose that you use to your client organization. Uh, Importantly, again, when you are engaging a subcontractor or subprocessor, ensure that they are also adhering to all the requirements related to the contract. So they are also processing the data only on your instructions. They will also inform you if your requirements infringe something. They should also help you in privacy compliance, right? They should also notify you if somebody asks for your company's data from them, right? They should also inform you about any transfer mechanisms that are there for the jurisdiction. So you have to ensure that this control or contract requirements that you have are also passing on to your subcontract. The next is let's summarize this. So we have looked at clause 5. Clause 5 has 8 control refinement with respect to ISO 27001. Clause 6 talks about additional 37 controls or additional 37 guidances provided with respect to ISO 27701. Okay, we looked at clause 7, Annex A, which has 31 new controls provided for controller organization. ISO 27701, clause 8, Annex B, provides 18 new controls for processor organization. Apart from that, it always says any controls which are not changed in ISO 27001, now they need to be addressed as information security and privacy. Okay, instead of only information security, which is there right now, going forward, they need to be addressed as information security and privacy. Okay, now what can be, so people ask what can be implementation challenges. The most important is justifying resource allocation to top management about implementation or certifying for any standard. So that can be an implementation challenge. Where to start and how to identify the risk to privacy. What are risks to privacy? Identification of that can be a challenging aspect. Identifying personal data and sensitive personal data in your organization, where exactly it is, what it is, where exactly it resides, where it is getting transferred to, which organization has what, that will be a bigger challenge in this case. Change employee behavior. See, it is not a task of one privacy officer or data protection officer to make your organization compliant. It is a collaborative effort because personal data is spread throughout the organization. So importantly, changing the employee behavior and adding data protection to the mindset can be really difficult. It can be only taken care of when you provide them ample awareness, tell them the consequences, make them aware about the breaches and fines and penalties. You can only change the mindset after that. Also, there are many controls provided in ISO 27701 as well as ISO 27001 to identify what is required for your organization, what is essential and what is not necessary for you. So identification, that also can be an initial challenge for an organization. Okay. So let's look at some case studies, real life implementation. Infosys has certified for ISO 27701. So Infosys has gone and complied with ISO 27701 in 2019. Also, Google, not complete Google, but Google Cloud Platform has received the certification, and they have received the certification as a processor. So I was mentioning earlier that there is statement of applicability. You have to define that what you are including and what you are excluding. So when they receive the certification, they have excluded the Annex A and Clause 7 of ISO 27701. They have only certified for Google Cloud as PII processors. So we'll only look at that aspect. And Google Cloud Platform is also certified for ISO 27701. Microsoft Azure, again a cloud platform, is also certified for ISO. They have also certified again for PII processor requirements. So they have not looked at the Annex A and Clause 7 requirement of ISO 27701. And they have looked at the PII PII processor requirements and Annex B requirements and ISO 27701 and have certified for the standard. ISO 27701 standard is also important with perspective that when European Union decides on privacy certification, it may be a top contender considering it is the international standard. So with some tweaks or with in current state, it may be get approved by European Union. We have to just wait and watch what is the decision that they take about it. Okay. Thank you very much for your time. So any questions I would take now? Okay, so there is one question that I have received is related to the certification. So you have to, use a services of a consulting to comply with ISO 27701 requirement. Before that, you need to be certified in ISO 27001 because you need to be, it is an extension of ISO 27K. So an organization has to be compliant with that or certified with that. So after you become certified to ISO 27001, you can look at the controls that are applicable to your organization of ISO 27701, mitigate this thing and get yourself audited or certified for ISO 27701. You can do that. Okay. Oh, yeah. RISPRO provides the ISO 27701 compliance services. So ISO 27701 is most importantly an international certification. So that is considered as best certification around for compliance with privacy regulation. Most companies, even though they don't go for certification directly, they use it as a framework for their privacy requirements. So that is also they do. Okay. And it is most known certification right now in the market for privacy compliance. Okay. So 27701 is not different from GDPR. 27701 is a framework on which GDPR can be based. So GDPR has its own requirements. 27701 has provided a framework for implementing GDPR. So it is not exactly difficult. They are complementary to each other. Okay. So you have there is one question related to if it is an extension to 27001, then why 27701? So 27001 deals with information security management system, correct? Information security. Now, privacy regulations have their own requirements related to personal data processing, which are not all covered in ISO 27001. So instead of creating a totally new standard with duplication or replication of ISO 27001, ISO 27701 has controls of 27001 and given additional control for privacy or data protection. It will be whenever the PDPB comes into the becomes effective and our authorities or regulators decide on it and approves 27701, yes, it will be considered compliant. Now, very interestingly, in current IT Amendment Act, which is 2008 for India, for being security compliant, ISO 27001 is considered as an organization becoming ample security compliant. So looking at that, our regulators would certainly look at 27701 very favorably. Okay, I don't think so. We have any other questions here. More importantly, RISPRO will very soon start, certifications for ISO 27701 lead implementers and auditor. Uh, so you can just wait and watch for the space. We will soon come with the notification or communication about it. We will be starting our trainings and certifications for ISO 27701 lead auditors very soon. Thank you so much, all of you, for your time. Have a great day.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Thank you, Swati.
Thanks, Mona Lisa.